Well, welcome everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Marty Rosendale. I'm the CEO of the Maryland Tech Council. Thank you for joining us and thank you for joining the Bioinnovation Conference. So the purpose of this webinar is to ask Willie Reaves from Bio to give us a run through of the Bio one-on-one partnering system. And this is important for a lot of reasons. One, as I think everybody knows, one of the challenges that we've had over the last 2 years because of the pandemic is networking effectively, making the right connections, getting to the right people, and having the right conversations to further grow and advance our businesses. The Bio one-on-one partnering system is an excellent way to do that, particularly at a conference like the Bio Innovation Conference. It allows you to make the connections that you need to make. It allows you to connect with people in advance of the conference, and it allows you to coordinate your time and be very efficient in those connections. So, Willie, I want to thank you for joining us. You always do an excellent job at explaining the system and letting people know exactly how it works and how to get the most out of it. Everyone else, I want to thank you again for joining us for this webinar, but also for joining the conference itself. I hope you have a great conference. I hope you make a lot of connections. Don't hesitate to ask Willie questions. He's tremendous. He does a great job with this. And then afterwards, if any questions come up, please don't hesitate to contact the staff at the Tech Council as well. So have a great webinar.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Marty, so much for the very kind introduction. And as always, it's my pleasure to work with you and the Maryland Tech Council and Life Sciences team to talk a bit about partnering for the Bioinnovation Conference. And Bio's definitely pleased for this to be our third year working with you on this particular event, but many, many years of partnering with your organization in so many different other respects. So as always, Bio really values our community in Maryland. So as a quick introduction, everyone, my name is Willie Reaves. I'm Chief Business Strategy Innovation Officer at Bio, where one of my core responsibilities is being the head of the partnering system, so Bio one-on-one partnering. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. As Marty mentioned, the partnering system will allow you to really be effective for the Bio Innovation Conference, and we'll go into some more details on that. But first, quickly, a housekeeping note here. We'll have a question and answer session toward the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions, you can type those into your Q&A box, either during the webinar as you think of things, you can write them into there, or you can save them to enter during the actual Q&A session toward the end of the webinar. And also here, within a few days, probably early next week, we will send out a recording of the webinar as well as a link to the slides. So if you have to jump off early or you'd like to share the slides with a colleague, anything like that, we'll have that resource ready for anyone who has registered for the webinar. All right, so at a high level, what are we going to talk about today? First, I'll kick it off with an overview of partnering and how that's going to work for the Bioinnovation Conference. Then we'll look at some best practices and tips and tricks for making the most effective use of your virtual meetings. We'll go into a live demonstration of the partnering system so you can see how everything works. And as a note, Bio one-on-one partnering for the Bioinnovation Conference is open right now. And then we will have our Q&A as promised at the end. So we've got quite a bit to cover, so why don't we go ahead and dive right in. And we'll kick it off with a bit of an event overview. So just so that everyone is clear, we're changing things a little bit this year for the Bioinnovation Conference. On October 4th and 5th, there will be the in-person event at the Bethesda Country Club. And on Wednesday, October 6th, is when we will have partnering virtually for all attendees, regardless of whether you've registered for the in-person or a virtual experience. So, both in-person and virtual attendees will have access to partnering on that October 6th date. While we won't be having official on-site meetings through the partnering system on the 4th and 5th, you can always use the system to, for example, exchange contact information. But really the idea there is allowing people who are able to attend in person as much opportunity to do a lot of the informal and serendipitous networking that we hear about in person. And then you can meet with everyone on a more formal basis through the partnering system on October 6th to try to unify the experience. Now, looking at some details about one-on-one partnering. So on the 6th of October, it'll be a 24-hour calendar, and we'll look at that in more detail. For virtual partnering on Wednesday, October 6th for everyone. And the bio partnering system will provide Zoom links. They're private. There's a different unique link for every meeting, so it's very secure. We have meetings being automatically rescheduled, scheduled, etc. So you can take a very hands-off approach. But at the same time, we also have the flexibility for you to choose your own time for your meetings if you like, or even use your own virtual meeting location if you wish. So lots of flexibility as always with the Bio One-on-One Partnering for the Bio Innovation Conference. Now let's talk a little bit about the 24-hour nature of things. So on October 6th, what you'll see when you log into the partnering system and go into your calendar, you'll see a kind of 24-hour calendar here. And there's 2 time zones. This is an important piece. On the left side, everyone here will all see the same Eastern Daylight Time. So that's the conference time zone since it's being based in Maryland. And on the right side, you will have your automatically detected time zone that the partnering system has detected. Or if you have input your time zone manually, I'll show that later, you'll see that there. I live in DC, right near Maryland, same time zone, so I see Eastern time for both of my time zones here. And the reason for that is it just makes it easy. Everyone has a universal point of reference with the Eastern time, but then let's say you are perhaps outside of Maryland, outside of the East Coast time zone, you can also see your time zone for your convenience. Now, let's talk a little bit about how scheduling works and what I was alluding to earlier with how you have a lot of flexibility. So, first point of clarity is you can absolutely let the partnering system do lots of automatic things for you for your meetings. The system can automatically schedule them. It can automatically give them a virtual meeting link. So that's kind of the max convenience option over here. And at BIOS events and affiliated events, we've often seen 90–95% of people really like this sort of hands-off, more automated option. However, if you would like, there are also alternatives so that you can have a little bit more control over your meeting schedule. So we've got the kind of set it and forget it almost approach here on maximum convenience. Although don't forget it, just log into partnering pretty frequently to check and make sure that you're accepting all your meetings. There's sort of an in-between option, which is self-scheduling. So that means choosing your own meeting time, but using the automatic bio Zoom link. So that is the sort of in-between option. And then if you really want the maximum control, this is for the person that really wants to tightly control their calendar. Maybe you have some internal meetings to take during the day on October 6th during after the conference. And so you want to self-schedule your meetings and choose the time. And maybe your company doesn't allow Zoom or something like that, and you want to input your own personal meeting link. So that is this max control option. You can choose any of these options for any of your meetings. But again, to be clear, you don't really have to do anything. You let the sort of automatic option here for convenience run. Just as a quick note, the auto scheduler, our algorithm that goes in the background, runs twice a day in the lead up to the conference. And during the event week, it will pretty much run all the time, about every 2 minutes in the background to find you the meeting time and assign you a meeting link. So that is how meeting scheduling works. And we'll look at each one of these cases when we do the live demo. Now, let's look at some best practices for how to make the most of the partnering system. First, 5 steps for success. So if you have attended the Bioinnovation Conference webinar before, you may have heard some of these things, but they still all ring just as true as ever. The first is your company profile. So if you attended, for instance, last year's Bioinnovation Conference, or you've gone to another event using the Bio One-on-One Partnering system, we'll have automatically imported your most recent company profile. So that's just for your convenience to make things easy, but do take a few minutes, review it. If there's anything that's been updated or that you need to change, please do update any of those items. And the profile is important because that's what really makes you searchable, kind of like a Google search. You want to make sure that you've got your most relevant and up-to-date information in there. Second is inputting your calendar availability. So again, the partnering calendar will show October 6th for everyone, and it will have a 24-hour calendar. So if you have any kind of outside activities or meetings that you're taking outside the partnering system, you may want to drop a note in or mark yourself as unavailable in the system to ensure that you don't get double booked. Then you'll want to search for partners and send customized meeting requests. We'll look a little bit more at what that means here in a few minutes. And then make sure that you're kind of actively engaging with your message center. As we get closer to the conference, people and companies will start to send more and more meeting requests. Lots of activity, especially happens in that week right before the conference. So make sure that you're not missing out on things. By default, you'll receive email notifications for new meeting requests that come in. But it's a good practice just to log in, check your message center periodically. And then, of course, schedule your meetings or let the auto scheduler do it for you, as we were just describing on one of those last slides. Now, a couple of pieces of information on really making sure that you can make the most with your meeting requests and kind of increase your rate of getting those meeting requests accepted. The first is putting as much information as possible into your company profile, right? So imagine, for example, maybe you're a new attendee, you've not been before to the Bioinnovation Conference, and you haven't used the Bio Partnering System. So your profile will mostly be blank, although our team may have input some basic information like your logo and so forth. But no one, if you can't do Google search on blank, right? Similarly, you can't do too much of a search in the partnering system on a blank profile. So really make sure that you're putting that information in. We recommend that you, secondly, start requesting meetings early. If you wait until the very last minute, people's calendars may have started to fill up, and then it will be more difficult for you to get the meetings that you're really looking for. Third is your subject line. So you want to really target both your subject line and your actual meeting request to that target company. And we'll look at some examples and things, but you don't want to just say meeting request, for example. Really think about what would make that other person or that other company want to open your meeting request. Why do they want to read it? Why do they want to engage with you? And then if you're getting really close to the conference, if it's a few days before and you haven't heard back from someone, you can always write a reply only message, which is basically just sending kind of an email back to them and remind them that you're still interested in meeting and setting up a time. Now, the customizing your subject line. Let's just imagine a scenario here. You wake up, you're working from home, you've got your morning coffee, you sit down at your desk and you open your inbox, you open your Outlook and you see that you have 50 unread messages and all of them are titled email. How incredibly frustrating. Nobody wants that. Because then how do you know what you should respond to first or what's important? There's nothing to differentiate the subject lines. It's exactly the same thing if you send meeting requests that have the title meeting request. We know it's a meeting request, right? If you get an email, you know that the title, you know that it's an email. So you don't need to say this is an email in the subject line. So all of that to say, use that subject line, if there's a specific asset that you've seen on that company's profile, if there's something specifically that has attracted you to them that, this really makes me want to send a meeting request, put something related to that in the meeting request subject line. Our data finds that people who customize their subject lines and then also customize the body of the message as well have a significantly higher response rate and acceptance rate than those that put sort of a copy and pasted message and meeting request with bio or something like that. So again, personalize those meeting requests. If you have an accepted meeting request with no mutual availability, and we'll look at an example of that later, best practice there is open up some more time slots on your calendar so that you can get that meeting scheduled. Also, we have a feature that allows you to input your contact information in the partnering system, but be sure to include country codes because there may be participants from outside your region or outside the US. It's useful to include that there so that people can always follow up with you easily. And then take advantage too of the advanced search. We'll look at some of those features a little bit later. And then just remember to kind of log into your message center, check early, check often is really a great practice to help make sure that you have the best partnering experience. All right, now a couple of helpful features, and then we will shortly be getting into our live demonstration. One is that we have added a new feature since last year's Bioinnovation Conference, which is the LinkedIn button on your delegate profile. And I'll demonstrate that, but really helpful, really handy. We've talked to people a lot who say, every time I go to meet with someone or after I've met with them, I always go connect with them on LinkedIn. So you can actually drop your LinkedIn URL into your delegate profile now. And then when someone searches for you and pulls up your profile, they'll see that URL so they can be bounced right over to your LinkedIn page. Makes it super easy. We also have really great filters in the advanced search as well as in the message center that make it a lot easier to target the specific sorts of companies that you're looking for. We also have a share my contact information button on a meeting requests, and we'll take a look at that here in, we'll take a look at that here in just a few moments. That makes it easy to share contact info to follow up with people after the conference. And then there are a variety of exports available throughout the system as well, in the profile exports, in the search section, in the message center, et cetera, to make sure that you are really able to make the most of your experience. And maybe sometimes you need to take a little bit of information offline. The exports make it easy for you to do that. All right, so now we're going to move into the live demonstration. So I'm just going to switch over quickly here into the partnering system. So once you log in to Bio 101 Partnering for the Bioinnovation Conference, you'll see a homepage that looks very similar to this. Let's kind of just go through the fundamentals first. At the top, you've got the navigation bar, so you can go through the main areas of the system or send a new request as well. Up here in the upper right, you've got bookmarks. And then if you click on your profile photo or that silhouette, then you can also access your delegate profile, switch up conferences if you have attended other events, or access your notification preferences and log out. Moving down the page, we have a basic search bar, so you can just jump right in and start searching for companies from here. And then these sort of three columns on the left here, the first column you'll see is your company profile overview. So it will show all of the delegates that are participating from your company, and you can pull up your delegate profile as well from here. In the center, you'll see an overview of your company's message center. And it's worth noting that the Bio 101 partnering system is a B2B or business to business system. So as opposed to necessarily writing a meeting request to a specific person, it sends it to that company. But in the meeting request, you can mention which people you may be interested in meeting with. So that's an overview of your calendar. And then the message center here overview, you can see how many incoming and outgoing meeting requests that you have and so forth. Then here on the far right side, we've also got kind of an info bar. So there's links to tutorials, customer service information, some of the tips and tricks. You can find that information right here along the right side. Now, let's go over to the company profile, and we'll just start from the top. First at the top is the area for your company logo. Now, please note, big disclaimer, this is for your company logo, not your headshot. So don't upload your face here. Otherwise, when people search for your company, they're going to see your face. And it's just kind of weird. So don't do that. But you can upload your company profile here. If you do want to upload your delegate headshot, which we really recommend, it makes it just a much more personable experience inside the system. You can go to the upper right, edit your personal profile. And then here, you can just upload a new image to use as your headshot. Now, moving down the company profile, we won't go over every single field, but I'll highlight some of the key areas that you should pay attention to. And keep in mind as well that your company profile is really your first impression to other companies. So don't just kind of take 2 minutes and throw in some marketing copy off of your company's website. You know, what you write here is really going to make you more or less searchable. Again, sort of like a Google search. And just keep in mind, Bio automatically imports your most recent profile if you have one from a past event. So be sure to update any information from there. So we talked about the company logo. Now, here are some of the key fields that are really frequently searched upon that you'll want to make sure that you filled out. Although, of course, we recommend that you fill out as much info as possible. So first here, we've got the company type, and we know that companies have diversified so much and perform many different functions, so you can actually select multiple company types if that is relevant to you. And we also even have COVID-specific company types for the companies that are working in that area. The brief description. This is important. The brief description is the line of text that's going to appear in the search section. I'm actually going to show you what that looks like. So if we look at the search, this little line of text right here that shows up under the company's name, that's the brief description, right? So it's very commonly seen, really important piece of information. So make sure that you have been thoughtful about what information you'd like to include there. Just keep in mind, it is brief, so it's limited to about 255 characters. But you can put your company's longer, more thorough and detailed description in the description box, and we would definitely recommend that you do that. And just a quick note here, it's a good practice to include both abbreviations as well as the spelled out forms of things for when people are searching. So for instance, if your company works on non-small cell lung cancer, then you would want to write that out, but also put NLCSC in SCLC rather into parentheses so that people can find what they're looking for, regardless of an acronym or not. You'll also want to include licensing objectives. So if your company has in or out licensing goals or both, you can include that information here as well. The therapeutic areas of interest, this is really helpful. And this disease tree goes very, very deep. So to lots of very specific disease areas, over 3,000 of them. You can also search here and just be sure to apply those for your primary and secondary therapeutic areas. It's a good idea to include your financial information in here. That's always helpful, especially public or private, company size. And then moving down further, please, please, please include your company's URL, right? That's one of the first things that you're going to want to look at probably when assessing another company. So don't make them go Google you and figure out which company you are out of that list. Just include that URL in here. And a lot of people like to search on geography. So you may want to, we would recommend that you include your country and your state if applicable. Now, moving into the center panel here, you have assets, services, and market products. So assets are things like drug assets, vaccines, could be antibodies, cell therapies, to name a few examples. Services are anything that's a service of your company. Think the consulting services, legal services, something like the Bio Business Solutions program, for example, cost savings program through Bio and the Maryland Tech Council. Anything like that could fall under services. And then market products. Think of the types of products that you would see on an exhibit floor, hospital hardware, could be medical devices, even something like biofuels. So you can add all of that information here. And then in the third column, you can optionally enter your management if you would like. And then you'll see a list of the participating delegates from your company. So these are the folks that are officially registered for the conference. And you can also access the profile of any of your colleagues by clicking on their name here. And then don't miss this section in the bottom right. It's great. It may get hidden if you have a long list of attendees, but if you just scroll down, there's the content section here. This is a really great area because it allows you to upload pitch decks, one-pagers, presentations. You can even put in small videos. You can put all sorts of really helpful information that will appear on your company profile. So this is a great opportunity to put in some more interactive info and helpful info that will help people to understand thoroughly your company's particular offering. Now, let's go over to the personal profile really quickly here. So I'm going to go up to the upper right and edit my personal profile. So we talked before about being able to add your delegate headshot, so you can do that here. And keep in mind that your company and delegate profiles are both published by default, and that is so that everyone can find you. If you unpublish yourself, you're effectively hidden. You're kind of a ghost in the system, so you're probably not going to want that. That won't allow people to reach out to you. But at the top here, you can set your time zone if you like. And again, just to be clear, the partnering system, when you go into your calendar, the system will automatically detect your time zone based on the time of your browser. But maybe you're traveling this week, and so it's going to show a different time zone or something like that. If you just want to set your time zone so that it always appears, you can do that using this field. We recommend that you put in your job title as well. And this is where you can include your LinkedIn profile so that you can have that shown really easily to other people. I'm going to show you what it looks like and sort of why that's helpful. So we'll pop really quickly over to the search. And I happened to note a delegate earlier today who had a LinkedIn profile link. So you can see this delegate's link here. And when you click on that button, you get a nice little LinkedIn button, and it'll take you right over into their LinkedIn profile. So that's a really handy feature. Definitely encourage you to fill that out. Going quickly back to the delegate profile, you can also add in information on your professional backgrounds, etc. And then there is the delegate contact information section here. So you can, and this is optional, you can bring in, if you click the autofill button, your email address from your partnering profile, or you can type in another email and list your telephone number as well. Keep in mind, please, that the Bio 101 partnering system really protects your privacy. So this information is not publicized. It's not, exported from the search. Other people would only see this if you specifically click on share your contact information on a specific meeting request. So it's not a one and done and then everybody sees it sort of situation. We really want to value everyone's privacy so that you have to make an explicit decision on whether or not you want to share your phone number and or email address. All right, now let's go back over into, we'll actually close this here and let's go back over into the search section. All right, so for the search, there's a lot of really great stuff here, but first let's start with the basics. The 5 core tabs. You can search through companies, delegates, assets, market products, and services. So you can move through any of these tabs and search for specific information. You can always do a simple plain text search. So maybe I'm looking for oncology, for example, and you can start there. But, and then as you're reviewing company profiles, you can see all the information that they've listed. This company's got a really detailed profile here and some news and information on what they want to do with specific assets and their objectives. They listed their therapeutic areas. So really robust profile. Be like this company, you want to include as much information as possible. So this makes it very easy for you to review all the companies that you may be interested in having a meeting with. And then once you have found a company that is of interest, you can click the request meeting button and shoot them over a meeting request. Really simple, just enter in that title or subject line for your meeting, the message body as well. Linked resources. This is from the content section, that kind of bottom right area of the company profile. So if you have any content or you have an asset, market, products, or service, then you can link those items as a resource onto your media request for discussion. And you can also edit your participants. So that is the process for sending a new media request. So now let's look a little bit more in detail at some of the other search functions. You do also have the ability to save searches. So let's say that I want to do oncology, for example, regularly. I could click Save Search as New. Then maybe I just want to call it oncology. So then if I go to log in later on this week or next week, if I go over to my saved searches, I can just click on this one again. This is particularly useful once you have started to add some advanced search criteria, where it's not just one word, but you've really stacked some different criteria. Speaking of advanced search criteria, let's look at an example of that as well. So if you click on the advanced search, and really there's a lot of great functionality in here. We oftentimes hear from people, gosh, I wish it were possible to search by therapeutic area or do this and that. 9 times out of 10, that function, it's already included that information from the profile. You can search here. So let's say, for instance, that you are interested in looking at biotech companies that are based in a specific area. So maybe we'll say United States and Japan. So you can combine those criteria along with any others. And then you'll get a search result set that is exactly those things. And each of these specific criteria appears. You could always click the X if you want to take that specific criterion off. Now, in the advanced search, another important thing to note is that you can run an advanced search across delegates as well, as companies or assets or market products or services. So you could even say companies that are biotech or pharma based in the US or Japan, for example, that have assets that are antibiotics. You could be very, very specific in that way. And that makes it a lot easier for you to target and find what you're looking for. And again, you can always save those searches to make that process a little bit easier. One last detail on the search screen is that you've got the export function here. So whether you're exporting the entire list or you're, for example, exporting this particular result set, you can click export here and that will drop all of this information and actually a lot more from the full company profile into a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet for you to be able to review later. So can't encourage you enough to take advantage of the advanced search. It really saves a lot of time, honestly, over just using sort of basic keywords in the basic search, although you can also be very successful doing that as well. All right, now let's go one additional feature in advanced search that a lot of people ask about is, they'll say, oh, I really only want to see the companies that have registered recently. I log in, every Monday and Thursday, something like that. So if you go into the advanced search under the company column, in the company registration date category, you can filter for companies that have registered newly for the system in a certain period of time, or you can even choose a specific date from the calendar. So, companies that have registered in the last 4 days, or whatever the date is, maybe since you last logged in. That makes it really easy so that you don't have to kind of re-review the same companies over and over again as you are reviewing your search results. So super handy feature. Just make sure that you go into the advanced search to find that particular item. Now, let's jump over into our partnering calendar here. All right, so a couple of things about the partnering calendar that are really important to notice. The first is that, again, all of the partnering will be taking place virtually on Wednesday, October 6th for all attendees, so that everyone has an opportunity to meet regardless of whether you were able to go in person or not. And everyone will see on the left side the conference time zone, and then on the right side your local time zone, either automatically detected by the system, or if you specifically listed it in your delegate profile, as we looked at earlier, then that will override any automatic things that are detected. Now, by default, when you first log in, your entire partnering calendar for all 24 hours is going to be marked as not available, which means you can't have any meetings. So you'll need to go in and update your availability. So to do that, there's a couple of different ways. If you just want to open up one time slot, you can click where it says not available and then switch it to available or toggle it back off. If you want to change multiple time slots, which we definitely recommend, each time slot is a possible meeting, of course, then click change availability. And then here you can change multiple time slots at the same time. Or you can click the update entire day to make yourself fully available or not for partnering. However, quick disclaimer with this feature, remember it's 24 hours. So if you click make available for partnering, that means from midnight to midnight on the 6th that you want to be up potentially and available for meetings. That's probably not desirable. So you may not want to do that all the way. Couple of other things that are really helpful to note here. You also have the ability to add personal events to your calendar. So let's say that you have kind of an outside phone call with your BD team or something like that. You can put those items in here as well and block off time in your calendar so that you make sure you're able to make the most effective use of your time. You can also print and export your individual or company calendar in a variety of formats. And then on the export option as well, it's really helpful to notice that one unique feature of Bio 101 partnering is that all of your scheduled meetings and any updates, reschedules, cancellations, etc., will push automatically onto your Outlook calendar to whichever email address that you've registered in the partnering system. This makes it really easy. A lot of something that we see with a lot of other partnering systems is that you don't get automatic meeting invitations and you're probably navigating off of your Outlook or your calendar. So then you have to go in the system and download a version of the file and import it into Outlook, and then it gets updated, or then it gets out of date as soon as something changes. Bio's one-on-one partnering system makes that much easier by putting all of that information in automatically for you. But if for some reason you would like to disable either those sorts of notifications or any others, you can do that from your delegate profile. So again, top right, edit your personal profile. And then just at the bottom is the option to access your notification preferences. So you do have full control over any emails and so forth that you receive into your account. But we would definitely recommend that you keep on your calendar invitations. It just makes it a lot easier for you to manage your meeting schedule, even without necessarily having to be logged into the partnering system. Now, there's another way to change availability that I don't want to forget to mention. It's the button here, mark as available from 9 to 6. So that will mark your calendar in your local time zone as available from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Basically a mark your business day available sort of feature. And of course, you can always customize your calendar availability from there. To see a colleague's calendar, just click on the name drop down here, and then you can also see the calendar of anyone else who is participating from your company. And then on the right side, we did include a link here as well to the conference so that you can also see on the Maryland Life Sciences Bioinnovation Conference website. You can go to the agenda, for example, and check out all the great things that are happening on the 4th and 5th during the conference. All right, now let's jump over into the message center. And this is really where primarily a lot of the magic is sort of going to happen for partnering. Important to notice is that the message center, like really everything in the partnering system, it's a collaborative experience. So if I log in, or if my colleague Mackenzie or my colleague Lorenzo logs into the partnering system, and we're all from the same company, we're going to have the same message center because it's really designed to be a very collaborative experience so that you can work with your colleagues, figure out which meetings make the most sense to accept and so forth as you're reviewing them. Now, if you remember back to kind of our scheduling options and all of the different ways that we talked about that you can schedule, so the max control, the max convenience, we're going to look at each one of those use cases now. So the most convenient method of scheduling, which most people choose, is the automatic auto schedule comes in. It uses your partnering availability on your partnering calendar to assign a meeting time and automatically give you a bio Zoom location. So that's the really easy kind of hands-off option. Vast majority of people will use that. And what it means is that once you have an accepted meeting with mutual availability, the auto scheduler will basically sweep in and assign a time, and it's going to give you a link so that you'll end up with something that, instead of just accepted, looks more like this and is scheduled and has a virtual meeting location. It's about Zoom link, and you can see when that particular meeting is scheduled for. So that's kind of the easiest option, is letting the auto scheduler do the work for you. If you would like to choose the specific times for your meetings, however, you can certainly do that. So let's look at an example here. So let's say that I've got this accepted meeting with the Breakthrough Medicines Association. I've reviewed it, it's accepted. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule it. And note that either party can schedule an accepted meeting. So there's no real etiquette around, well, I'm the sender or I'm the recipient. It doesn't matter. Either party can schedule the meeting. So we can just click the schedule button here. And then you'll see, so again, 24-hour calendar, you'll see both of the time zones, conference and your local time. So what you're looking for is a green time slot. Yellow means that someone is not available for scheduling, and red means that there is a conflicting meeting. So what you're looking for is a green time slot. So let's say, okay, Maria and I both have 10:30 selected, 10:30 available. So I'm going to click the 10:30 time slot. And then I just want to get a bio Zoom link. I don't need to put in my own link. My company, we can use Zoom. There's no issues. So I'll click use a virtual link, meeting link provided by the event. You're not quite done. We just want to make sure that you check over this information here. So there's a summary screen. Just read over this. You've got the right time, and then click confirm and schedule. So once you do that, your meeting will be scheduled. You can see, boom, I've already got my Zoom link automatically assigned, and it will send immediately a calendar notification over into my Outlook. Maria from the Breakthrough Medicines Association will also receive a calendar notification, and then everything is a pretty easy process, and your meeting is ready to go. Now, let's look at a case, however, where you have a meeting that's accepted, but you've got this red icon saying there's no mutual availability. So what that means is you and the other person or persons from the other company do not have overlapping calendar availability, so the system can't find you a time to schedule a meeting. The best course of action in this case is first see if there are any times that you're able to open up in your calendar. So for instance, to try to resolve this meeting that I want to have with Umbrella Consulting, I'll click on schedule. So as I look through the time slots here, there's red, there's yellow, there's no green, right? Because there's no mutual availability. But as we're looking through, the easy way to see whether you may be able to get this scheduled is to look for a 1. So here you can see numbers. So it shows that people are unavailable and which person is unavailable. So as I'm sort of clicking through, oh, I've got a slot here that I am the person that's unavailable. So I'm kind of the blocker on this meeting. Well, it looks like Jim from the other company is available at this time. And you know what? Looks like we're both morning people. So I can go ahead, I'll just open up my 5 and 5:30 over here. And so now, immediately refreshed, I've got a green time slot that's open for 5:30. So now I can go through the scheduling process. So either I can do what we just did, use a virtual meeting link provided by the event, Or this is the max control option. You could even enter in your own virtual meeting location. So what you would do in this case is enter in your unique, your meeting link that you have separately, and any passcodes, dial-ins, that sort of information you put into the second box, and then you click use this location. So that is how you resolve a no mutual availability situation. If you have opened up all your time slots, you've got as much time open as possible, and you've still got no mutual availability, then your next course of action is use a reply only message here. Basically sends the other company an email and say something like, I've got as many calendar slots as open as I can right now. Is there a time that might work for you that you could open, or try to open a dialogue with the other company and find a time to meet within the partnering system. All right, so we have gone to just about the end of our live demonstration here. So just as a couple of quick reminders, you can self-schedule, you can choose your own meeting times, you can even use your own meeting links if you like, but you don't have to. If you want the more hands-off approach, the main thing you'll want to do is make sure that you go in, open your time slots in your partnering calendar, jump into your message center periodically to review your requests, but the system's auto scheduler will come in and assign times and meeting locations to those meetings for you. One quick thing I did also want to demonstrate is if you, for example, want to add a colleague onto a meeting. So for example, maybe I have this umbrella consulting and I want to schedule it, but I want to pull in my colleague Lorenzo. So I can click edit participants here. And then it looks like Lorenzo is free. He's got lots of time open during the conference. So I'll click his name here and then click save. So that will show me now the overlapping time slots for me, Lorenzo, and Jim from the other company. So you can always at any time go back in and edit the participants, whether from your company. Now, from the other company side, they're going to be choosing the actual participants for the meeting. Although when you write your meeting request, if you have seen someone's specific delegate profile or you know the person, you can always in your meeting request say, dear Jim, dear Sandra, that sort of thing. But keep in mind that ultimately the other company will be choosing who the most appropriate person is for that meeting. And the reason why is that sometimes we have cases where maybe it looks like the director of BD is the particular person that you would want to meet with, but once the company receives the message, they say, oh, well, this person's interested in immuno-oncology. Actually, we need to have them meet with this other person here, and they'll always be able to tell who the best person is to have that meeting. And one last thing before we depart our handy dandy message center here. If you have a scheduled meeting and for some reason you would like to change only the meeting link, but you don't want to change the meeting time, you want to keep it at the same time, then that's what this update button is for, the update location button here. You can use that to add in a new location. So I know that was a lot, but we have just gone through our live demo there of the partnering system. So now we have some time, maybe even a little early, to get to our Q&A. Those other slides are slides that you'll get after the webinar that has information so that you can share with your colleagues any things that we walked through. All right, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop those into the Q&A box on your Zoom window, and then we can start looking at those. All right, Niraj just asked, can you show how to get to this page, how to get to the partnering system from the Maryland Tech Council site? All right, so let's pop back over into Bioinnovation Conference. So if you start at the Bioinnovation Conference website here, marylandlifesciences.com/conference, you can click over into partnering, you'll get an overview. And actually, I realized this is a great question. We don't have a button. I think we'll be able to fix that. So we'll add a button here to allow you to log into the partnering system. But you can also, once you get your login link from the system, you can also just add a bookmark. I've done that up here as well in my browser to make that process easy. So great question, Niraj. All right, let's see if we've got any other questions coming in here. Let's see, what do I do if one of my colleagues wants to be added to the meeting, but it says that they're not available? All right, so let's take an example here. You want to add a colleague to a meeting, but they maybe are not available. So let's jump back into the Breakthrough Medicines Association example. So maybe I want to pull someone else into this meeting. So I'll click the edit button here on my side for my company for the edit participants. And maybe I want to add Mackenzie to this meeting, but it says she's got no free time slots. So now I'll click on view calendar. And it looks like Mackenzie is blocked off for the whole time for the event. So in this case, the best thing to do would be shoot her a note, maybe send her an email, say, hey, Mackenzie, want to add you onto this meeting. Are there particular times that I might be able to open up? Right now it's scheduled, at 10:30, that sort of thing. And then get her permission to edit her calendar. Or if you already have that, you can just go in here and update the particular time that is needed for that meeting, and then save it. And then that's how you'll be able to add someone to a meeting if they do not have availability. Remember too, that you can always go back into the calendar section and view the calendar of any of your colleagues here, since again, it's that sort of open collaborative space. All right, any final questions? If not, then I think we have reached a little bit early, even the end of our Maryland Life Sciences Bioinnovation Conference Bio 101 Partnering webinar. We're really looking forward to seeing you, many of you in person, hopefully, at the Bethesda Country Club for the conference, and seeing virtual participation as well. Look forward to having everyone join us for the partnering access for October 6th. Remember that the partnering system is already open. So if you've registered, you should have received a login email from us. If not, please contact the partnering team or the registration team, and we can make sure that we get those credentials over to you so that you can log right into the system and get going for the conference. And then also, please bear in mind that this webinar has been recorded, so it will be sent out within a few days to everyone that registered. We'll also send out a version of the slides that walks through a lot of those features that I detailed during the live demo, in case someone isn't able to take advantage of watching the recorded webinar. And in the meantime, we look forward to seeing everyone on October 4th and 5th in person, October 6th virtually for the Bioinnovation Conference. Bio, as always, is grateful to work with Maryland Life Sciences again on the event, and we hope to see you all here in just a few short weeks. Thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day. See you soon.